before, and I heard it, I was like, all right, we don't have people like you. Get out.
Well, that was a candidate. I thought that was you were being interviewed, and someone says that.
Oh, no. I was,
either way.
yeah, it was just nice.
Sue, you can go. Sweet. Makes sense.
I checked the year, and it's 2018.
Oh,
So
yeah.
you need to
When I go. I go with the show us in the rings of teachers and there's
Oh, yeah.
something else.
And you know what's funny? That's funny too. And the guys that are way over the top, like stressed out, is also. You come here to apply for a tech job, you see from. That's right. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Did you get that from your father?
No.
You were a perfect match.
We're looking for a job, a senior engineer with 10 plus years experience running a team.
Yeah.
We thought you were a great
People
match.
you come in a t-shirt.
How?
Doesn't matter.
How did you find me? I don't have any of that. I'm like, what the hell? Is this some kind of scam? Super funny. Wait a second, they just need my routing number. It's okay.
Well, you're going to get paid, right? So yeah. They're going to run a credit check, make sure you're fine, background check. Yeah.
When I get that money that comes in from that Nigerian prince,
I'm waiting on that.
good.
I can appreciate it. It's their $5 million to give to me. I should at least trust them with all my personal information.
It's just that's hysterical. The bank, I was doing something with my bank one time, like 5 years ago, and the guy goes, "Yeah, I just need your," and I know it's the bank. I called him, right? And he goes, "I need your social." I go, "You have my social. I'm not giving you something you have." He goes, "Well, you're not required to give it to me." I go, "Yeah, you're right about that." I go, "But here's the thing. You've checked my profile. You know who I am talking to you because you double checked my phone number, et cetera, et cetera. So I don't see why you need this to conduct business." Yeah. And then the phishing emails are hysterical too. Yeah, you bet. They take all those logos and try to make the email look official.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Kind of heavy on the ridiculous.
Yeah. And usually you can just check see where that came from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm like,
yeah, Norm Staffa.
banks don't like to call you.
Yeah.
You know, they usually send a letter and then you call them.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, these couple of months is the IRS scam because the tax season starts like January, goes up to like April or something.
I'm just amazed at how many
Yeah, unfortunately.
sketchy phone calls I get because I have this app that screens them.
Yeah.
And man, it's like volumes. One day I had like 18 of them. Little pearls. Little pearls. How we roll, man? All helpful, all the time.
All right, let's go ahead and get started. Good morning, everyone. So today, I don't have any set agenda. I asked if there was any review. I didn't get any feedback. So since nobody told me what to review, you guys are forced to kind of learn my topic now. So I picked it up. So too bad now. Yeah, again, so this, the topic that I have is not part of the curriculum. It's not part of the syllabus. It's nothing. It's just I picked it up. And I picked it up because I'll explain the reasons. I mean, in today's world, I think it's very important. And this topic is good too because you guys at this point have the skill set to do something. Okay, so it will be easier. Before I begin this topic, it's related to React, so it's not a surprise or anything. But even after this, in this industry, it's very important you guys keep learning something, right? I've been in this in 15 years, and I have changed technologies like 3 or 4 times. At this point, I don't care. What I tell my managers or whoever hires me, I'm like, as long as it is code, I can read it. I don't care what language it is. Once you get used to it, it's very easy. It's like a language that yeah. It could be Java, it could be C Sharp, it could be React. As long as it is code, I can read it and I can kind of make sense of it, right? So that's the point you guys should be trying to achieve, and that comes with time, experience, and learning also. All right. When I graduated 2005, technologies have changed, right? Anything that was the core concepts are good and those are fine, but when it comes to technology, we saw AngularJS, we saw React, iOS, Android. These came like 10 years ago, right? I try to keep up with it, and that is very important when you're working in this industry, right? I'm very comfortable with some of the languages, so that's okay. That's your core skill. But you also need to go out and kind of learn something new also. Make sure that you are relevant in the industry. These days, for example, I'm learning iOS. I have no idea about it. I have never done it. I'm taking a nano degree course on iOS programming. I'm learning Swift. Do I need it? No, I just like it. I just want to see what's going on, right? It kind of keeps my profile updated. If I want to do something related to iOS, I can do it. Okay. A lot of workplaces these days, the trend is related to training. You will be surprised how many companies enforce training or they have some option for training, right? They have education credits also. A lot of companies do. Some don't, but most of the companies I've seen, what I've worked with, they do. They have some kind of, if they don't pay for that, they have a portal where they have free courses that comes, right? So make use of that. Even the course that I'm taking, nano degree, we get education credits, and I'm using those credits to get like, I don't know, 5,000 or something. It's not like a cash or anything, but they will reimburse it. So I took that course because it's just free money lying out there, right? If you don't use it, it just goes to waste, just kind of rolls over. Not rolls over, it just goes away for the year. Okay, so when you're working, look into that. When you're interviewing and you kind of reach the final stage, they ask you, hey, do you have any questions? So this should be one of the good questions to ask. Hey, do you have any training programs? What kind of training programs you have? I mean, you already kind of secured the job if you're at the last interview, right? So, now it's on your court. They really like you. They want to hire you. Now it's on your side, negotiation and everything. So kind of ask those questions and see what they have. With that, so today's topic kind of ties into mobile programming. All right. Anybody knows what this means? Mobile first.
Code your application for mobile.
Yeah.
Device.
Right. Code your application for a mobile device first. This kind of became more popular as iOS came, and then it took over the world. Everybody started doing it. Then Android came. So now today's world, anything that doesn't open on mobile on my phone kind of doesn't exist for me, right? And it's kind of true for a lot of people. For example, I'm looking up a restaurant. I'm like, oh, let me go and check their menu. And this is more recent also. I opened their website. It's like not catered for phone, right? It's like this big. Reviews might be good. I just close. I'm like, you know what? I'll find something else. And it happens. And this is just one example. A lot of apps, there have been some research done. UX, UI designers have done it. In today's world, if your app or your website doesn't open on your mobile phone, it kind of gets ignored. Yeah.
One of my family friends' business had a website that he coded in HTML3.
Wow.
And he said that he got contacted by Google and that they were going to drop his
Right.
his rankings in the Google Analytics, but he didn't make it mobile ready.
Right.
So there's actually businesses that he's paying, I can't remember, some monthly subscription for them to convert his website to mobile.
Right. Yep. So you see, even kind of other companies are kind of forcing you, because it kind of affects them also. Now, if your Google results show them on the top, it kind of affects Google. They're saying because of the, well, why are we getting these results when it's not even doesn't open on my phone? Okay, so this is a very important, and in today's world, this is also extremely important. So anything that you, when you create your projects, when you create your websites, at this point, we've seen Bootstrap, right? Bootstrap started way before even the mobile phones were there, right? Before iOS, right? But how have they kept it relevant? They have kept it relevant with their responsive interface, right? They were quickly able to adapt it. They were able to realize it, and they came up with their responsive thing. Now you see, you code, they have automatic response. Your website kind of opens up on mobile phone. Also, you guys still have to do work. They will give you the basic structure, but you still have to work for it. So this is how Bootstrap is also kind of, so you see that they are kind of forcing you in that way, which is good. And so that's where the mobile first comes in. The theory behind is that, when you are developing your project, when you're developing your website, do it for a mobile phone first. Okay. And the issue and the reason for that is you have a very small real estate, right? If you can fit what you are trying to convey, your messages, in this real estate, right? When it comes to a bigger screen, it will look cleaner and nicer, because now okay, these are the only relevant things that I want people to see, right? Instead of crowding everything on your web page. If you start with this, you have a big real estate. You'll be like, oh, I can put this too, this too, this too, this too. But when it comes to your phone, everything kind of gets shrinked, and you see like a lot of crowded things over here. Okay, so the strategy is you start with your phone first, design your application for your phone first, and then convert it into your desktop or your Chrome browser, any browser screen. Okay, that's where the concept of mobile first comes in. Yes.
I was reading an article, and I can't remember all the statistics, but they were just talking about how there's a shift.
Mm-hmm.
So when you think of mobile, you think tablets, you think phones,
right?
And literally, there's a shift away from the desktop, of course, which is kind of what Jobs was saying when they first invented a few things in Apple. They said there's going to be a shift to all handheld.
Yep.
There will be people that will have desktops.
Right.
But yeah, I actually know people that don't own computers. All they have is tablets and phones. Yeah.
And it's portable, right? I have this in my pocket. I don't have my desktop every time with me, right?
Yeah.
If I want to look something up, I will use my phone. Yeah. Right. And if it is a mobile-friendly website, it's kind of easier and easier to navigate, and people will be like, okay, more accessible, more hits. Yeah. Right. So this is something to consider. Now, when it comes to mobile phones, two of the most popular are, of course, iOS and Android, right? So there's a concept when we code for these phones. It's called native programming. Okay, what native programming means is iOS has their own language. All right, they have Objective-C and now Swift. All right, so if you write your app for iOS using Objective-C and Swift, your app is said to be doing native programming. Your app is native because everything that iOS provides, right? You are using their tools, their code, everything according to them, so that app becomes native. Okay, that's what native means. For Android, it is Java. Okay, they do it in Java or Kotlin. This is a kind of new upcoming, kind of similar, so they're kind of shifting towards it. And the people who came with IntelliJ, WebStorm, those IDEs, they're kind of pushing towards it. And Android, the IDE for Android is kind of the Android Studio is from JetBrains. They are the creators of WebStorm, IntelliJ, and all that stuff. It's kind of cool. So again, anything that you write in these two languages for your Android, it means native programming. Okay. Now, what is the? It's not a drawback. The only thing over here is now if I want to learn, I want to write something from iOS, right? I'm a web developer. Okay. I know React, I know JavaScript, I know all that stuff. If I want to write anything for this until recently, I would have to learn these two languages and then I have to write something. Okay. So there's a concept a few years ago, it became more popular. It's called web apps. Okay, and we'll call this native apps. Okay, so native apps are the ones that are using this. Then came along web apps. What web apps? The concept is it became more popular with when AngularJS came out. Okay. So AngularJS, when it came out, kind of it revolutionized everything. They were like, oh, this is the next thing after jQuery. Everybody jumped on it. Everybody started. It was really good until they screwed up and came up with the version. Anyway, so when AngularJS came out, there's a framework called Ionic. This became more popular. What Ionic did was they took this language, AngularJS, and they said you can code in AngularJS and you can create a iOS and Android app. Okay, you don't have to learn anything new. As long as you know this language, you can create apps that will run on Android and iOS, and those apps are called web apps. If you look at it, you will not find a difference whether this is native. When you run the app, you will not find a difference. You cannot tell the difference whether it is created natively or it's a web app. Okay, so this became really popular. I've used this. When I learned AngularJS a few years ago, when it started, and then I looked into Ionic, it was a kind of, I didn't know iOS at that time or Android, so I was like, oh my God, this is the best thing ever, right? I've written some apps, and you cannot tell the difference what it is. Yeah, and I'll show you some other things. So Ionic came up, and this is called web apps. Okay, there's a third concept also called hybrid apps. Now, hybrid, what it basically means is when you create an app, you will have some native features, okay, and you will have some web features also. Kind of both of these mixed. It's kind of now going, well, I would say it's completely going away, but it's kind of fading because when these things came out, some of the OS features like camera phone, Bluetooth, and those kind of things, you still had to do some tweaking to make it work for web apps. So they recommended using some of the iOS native code and all this stuff, right? But these days, kind of shifting. Everything, the target is that you just make complete web apps. You don't have to learn anything new and then create that app. Yes?
Where does Xamarin fit in? Like, with web apps too?
Well, yeah, that kind of fits in over here. It's for iOS, right? If I'm trying to remember. It does both? Okay, yeah. So there are some other tools also which you can use. I'm telling Ionic because that's the one that I first started using. Now if you look at so it was like really closely tied with AngularJS, right? And then Angular 2 came out, they were still on board with it and kind of updated their framework. And they said you still. Now if you look at the documentation, of course they've jumped the ship also. Now they're using something called TypeScript. If you look at TypeScript, that will kind of seem familiar as React, right? If you see the syntax for TypeScript, it's kind of weird. TypeScript is like the new version of JavaScript, or like new JavaScript, or what they say is this is how JavaScript should have been written. Of course, your browser doesn't understand this, so in the end, what happens? TypeScript kind of gets converted into JavaScript. But you kind of write the syntax, and it's very similar to what you have seen in React. When you look at the syntax, components and imports and everything, kind of similar. Okay, but the point over here is these guys also kind of jump the ship. They're like, okay, Angular is kind of slowly fading away, unfortunately. So people are moving away from it. So they kind of, change the gears and now more catered. But still, you can create a web app using Ionic. Okay. But my topic still doesn't have anything to do with Ionic or TypeScript. You guys can guess, since React is more, well, Ionic and all these frameworks, they were kind of stepping stone. They were the one who kind of brought it up. Now this what happens in the industry, right? Somebody comes with an idea and somebody else can take it and make it even more better, right? That's how the competition comes. And then React came about, and then React did the same thing. It's now one of the more popular frameworks. So they did the same thing. They came out with their web app framework called React Native. And that is what it is. All right. So what React Native is same as what Ionic did or some other frameworks do. You write your code in React. It will run and it will create an app that will run in your iOS or Android phones. Okay? You only need to know two things, React and JavaScript, that's it. To me, it's revolutionary. I mean, I don't have to even learn anything. I can create an app and you will not find a difference. This is between the two apps, whether it was created a web app or a native app, right? Okay, so if you look at React Native, go to their homepage. At the bottom, you will see what companies are using. React Native apps, right? I'm going to show you this one, Walmart. Well, this is because I worked over there and I didn't even know. The interesting part over here is there was a, oh yeah, there it is. If you look at these, check out these apps. The whole Walmart app is actually on React Native. I mean, I've used it, but I didn't know. I mean, all the navigation, everything, they have created with React Native. That's how popular it is becoming, and that's how companies are shifting towards it. There's a whole, it's not a white paper, but somebody wrote the whole thing if you are interested to see that what challenges Walmart was facing and how they kind of shifted into something different. And they came to a result that React Native was the way to go. Okay, so the point over here is companies are using it and kind of lets you tie into these two things also, right? Without learning anything new. I think it's exciting, and if you get a chance, please do look into it. This point, what I will do is I haven't done any. I did Ionic programming. I did some apps on that. I have not done in React Native. I haven't had a chance, but I'll show you how to set it up really quickly. It's super easy. They made it a lot more easier now. You can get an app up and running in like few minutes. It shouldn't take that much time. Okay. They have all the documentation how you can create that app and publish it in iOS. If you guys are if you have any app idea or you want to kind of change kind of port your code from your project over. Again, only the requirement is only two things, React and JavaScript. That's all you need to know. The code is the same. I looked at their documentation, same components, same React, everything. There's like no change in it. All right. The only thing is it's going to create iOS app or Android app. That's all it does. Okay. Let's see.
So when you're going through this process,
Yeah.
you have your idea, and you're making the decision, do I make a web page or do I make an app that people can download to your phone? What kind of drives you in either direction, or do you always do both?
Well, again, to me, what happens is, what's your target audience? Like, what does your app do? What does your website or app do? Now, some of the concepts are like they would more work better in an app. For example, if it's a game, right? You have a game idea. It's more appropriate in a app, right? Not versus the website. Now you have a restaurant. You have a restaurant. So I mean, the website is much better. Okay. What else?
So if there's gonna be more computing on the browsing end, it's probably better in
Right.
versus
Yeah, that could be one of the factors. Yeah, depending on what you're trying to cater. I would say if it is not as important, start with the website, but eventually do make sure there's a app for it at some point, right? Um, I have an Android phone. I'm a more Android follower, but from what I've read, iOS is more popular. So if you people, what companies usually do, they start with the iOS app and then move into the Android one. Unfortunately, that's the case. Yeah.
So you were telling me you were learning Objective C and Swift.
Well, I'm learning
Are-
Swift.
What are you doing?
Swift.
Oh, Swift.
Yeah.
So if you're learning React Native, can you do all the same thing?
Yeah, you can do the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah, it depends on the company direction, and if you are a purist or not, right? Some people are very stickler about that. Oh, if it's an iOS app, I'm going to develop in the native programming. It again depends on the company direction. I'm doing this because the app that I'm working on, it's a company app. So USA, they came to a decision that it has to be a native app. They don't want React Native or anything,
Gotcha.
whatever their reasons are.
Does React Native have access to the underlying libraries for Swift and stuff like Metal and stuff like that?
Right. Again, I have not tried it, but when I was reading through, they were saying you can access some of the native
So
functions.
they
also.
have linked interfaces to be able to link
Yep.
into the Metal and stuff like that
Yes.
for the graphics.
Yes, you can
Pretty
actually.
sure.
Yeah, you can actually run. There are two ways you can run the native app. You can actually run on your phone. They will show. I'll show you the way. The other way you can run in your iOS or Android simulator also. Yeah, that's more trickier way, but they have the documentation there, and they are saying they.
So you can build the whole app on your Mac and then and run it on the.
Yeah, you can.
simulator.
The code that
Simulator.
that generates, you can open in your Xcode or Android Studio. Yeah, that's what I haven't tried it,
They say.
but that's what they're saying. Looks like it's working. Okay, so I will show you the easy way to get started. For this one, it's I've tried this one. It's like super simple. So there are two ways that they are saying. Jesse was mentioning about the native code. So either you can run the code on your phone directly. This is the easiest way. The other way is if you want to actually see the code, not see the code, but do it the other way. For this way, you actually need the IDEs. So either you need Xcode or Android Studio. Okay, that's the second way. I won't show you this way, but once you're more comfortable with the first way, go ahead and try it. I was trying with Xcode; it was giving me some errors, but I'm sure they have I didn't get time to fix that. But it is possible to create this app and start running in your Xcode IDE or Android Studio, and still it will show all the code and run in your simulator. Yes.
Does that mean you use it in Visual Studio?
Yeah. You can look at into Visual Studio also. Yeah. But if you are doing the second way, this way, using Xcode, I would recommend open those up in the IDEs that are more appropriate to the environment. So if it is iOS, then open it up in Xcode or use Android Studio. The first way, this one, the quick start, yeah, you can open this in Visual Studio and it'll be fine. It will just show you your React apps and everything. Okay. So the first thing what I did was the first thing I did was do this npm install -g expo CLI. So Expo is another framework that they are using. That's what Facebook or React team has partnership with, and those are the people who are kind of making it easier to start creating your apps. Okay. The first thing I did was do a npm install -g expo CLI, and then the second thing is I have Android, so I did this in Android. There's an app called Expo. And that's what it tells in the next step. So download that app also. It's called Expo. And it says over here, install the Expo client on your iOS or Android. Okay. Once you install that app and also this running, it will generate a QR code that you can scan. And what will happen, the QR code will be on your desktop and you will scan it on your app and your app will be kind of connected and it will start running. The only caveat over here is that they're saying that both your desktop and your phone should be on the same wireless network. So make sure that's what the documentation says. So we are using this. So make sure you guys are on your phone. Also, you are connected to your this Wi-Fi, or they both are on the same Wi-Fi. That's what it says, that they should be both on the same network. I haven't tried switching or putting it on a different network, but that's what the documentation says. So if it's not working, make sure you guys check that. Pretty straightforward to create a project. You can just do, let me type this out. So it's going to be Expo init and then your project name. Okay. When you start, it will give you an it will give you a question saying, do you want to create a blank or a tabs one? So the tabs one, if you see any of the apps, tabs are the one on your screen that are at the bottom. You will see like 3 tabs, right? Home, something, something. Those are the tab project. So I'll go ahead and create just a blank one for now. You guys can give both of them a try and see what's the difference between those two. If you are looking into later on in the second way to actually pull it up in your iOS simulator or Android simulator, there's a different way to do it. The only thing I've found out over here is when you create your project using init some project name. Right now I used hyphens, right? I said React Native dash example because I'm using the first way, so that's okay. But when you do this React Native this thing, Xcode or iOS has a restriction. What I think is you cannot use dashes or anything in your project name. So I tried saying awesome dash project, it wouldn't create. So it's kind of more like a camel casing. So if you're using the second method, don't use hyphens. And that's the same thing if you have Xcode installed and you're trying to create an iOS project, they will make you come up with a name that is like camel casing. They don't allow hyphens. So I think that kind of ties in with that. But we are still on this one. And I created this React Native app. So it's all up and running. And the next part is just npm cd into that project and npm start. And that's all it is.
Did you create the tab one or the blank?
I created the blank one. But yeah, go ahead and create the tab one. It doesn't matter. Okay. And then you do npm start. Okay, it's going to come up with a QR code because this is the, let me go back to the documentation. And the next, it's kind of a little bit different on the iPhone. Take a look at it. They were saying that there you'll see some on-screen instructions when you're using iPhone. On Android, it was pretty straightforward. When I open the Expo app, it has an option to scan the QR code, and this is the QR code. And I scan this. Huh? It's called Expo. Did you guys scan my QR code? Yeah. And wonder what will happen since we are all in the same network. Is going to. It's gonna explode there. Still at 59%. You know, when I was trying this out, I had a feeling that, you know, as soon as I show this QR code, people are going to start scanning my app. So I guess we'll test it out what happens since we are all on the same network. And the app comes up. It will say open up app.js to start working on your app. The next thing is, let's go and look at the code. So you open Visual Studio. And this supports live reloading. So as soon as you change, something's going to come up. I did a blank, yeah, but it should still be okay. Do a blank or a tab, it doesn't matter. So if you see, if you look at the code, right, still same. I mean, it has some extra thing, but you don't have to worry about it. They still have the app.js. You still create your components the same way you do it in React. Everything, as far as we are concerned, is still the same. So this is the text that's showing up. So if you change this, right? This should go ahead, it's refreshing, reloads, and it kind of changes. Super easy. When I saw Ionic, when I did, I was like, this is it. I mean, why do I have to learn anything new? But it's kind of cool.
Why didn't you just learn React Native?
When you started React Native, right? This tells me you guys understood. Every time somebody says that, I'm like, okay, so you guys actually understood and appreciated the thing. The problem with this is that, you know, if I right now it wouldn't make sense. But if we showed you React Native first, you would be like, oh, what is this Babel? What is it Watchman? What's all going on? You know, you will be more confused. But this way you can appreciate and understand. Okay, you can ignore these files. This is app.js. That's what you're concerned with. You can create your components. You can put your components over here and put all. They have a good documentation what you can do. Same thing, props, style, props, state. You can even use Redux if you want in this. It's kind of same as programming in React. Okay. Let's see. They even have, well, of course they need to. They have the handling touch controls, tap and play. All these things are available. As I keep telling you guys, I haven't worked on it, but look at the definitely look at the documentation, or if you want me to be. Okay. You guys know what that means? RTFM? If you don't know, it's fine if you don't. So that's what I keep telling everybody, you know, read the documentation. I haven't personally worked on it yet, but, you know, it's kind of cool. I can look at it, I can understand what's going on. I think it's a really cool idea, and, you know, I've seen some apps, you know, you can't really tell the difference. If you guys are interested, take a look at it. It's kind of, you saw how easy it is to set it up. You already have the code, it's already running on your phone. The other way, using the Xcode, is kind of a little bit trickier, but give it a try, it will eventually work. But they already have the documentation, they have the FAQs, they have all the troubleshooting. I don't see an issue why it shouldn't be, should be giving you an issue. And the advantage you see over here, any code that you already have, any activity that you have, you can just copy that activity folders over here and start working as a React app. There's no major differences over here. Okay. Any questions? Okay. So the point of this was I just wanted to introduce you something. You know, I try to look into stuff myself. You know, I'm like learning, of course. to make sure I'm more relevant. So I came across this. I haven't used it, but I just look at the documentation. I have a lot of courses that I keep bookmarking. I never go back to it. But if I get time, I want to learn this. If I have an app idea, so this is something, and it's more relevant to you guys because now at this point you guys know React, you guys know JavaScript. You will appreciate this more, and kind of ties into it, gives you an idea that okay, if I want to develop an app, this is something extra that you guys are taking out of it. Okay. This shouldn't stop you from learning any of these two. It's good. You get time, please take a stab at it. Any programming languages, but this was kind of give you a basic overview. Even this whole course. Now you should be, as long as you're working towards it, you should be able to understand any programming language, right? You should be start thinking into it. Yes, do what? Oh, where you should learn all of this? Again, I'm telling you, React Doc. You can take some tutorials. There are free on Udemy. They have free courses. You can take a look at it. But the documentation for React is probably one of the better ones. They keep updating it, and they are constantly working towards it. I guess they took lesson from AngularJS, and they don't want to get left behind. They keep it really updated. It's I don't want to say it's easy, but it should be becoming more easier to you guys once you guys have learned so much. So it should be kind of familiar how to read the documentation. Again, React Native, React Redux website, React Docs. Those are probably one of the best ones to go to when you are creating an app. Otherwise, I can't recommend any one website because I just like Google. They have a lot of YouTube videos, Udemy, Udacity. You can look into some of the free courses. And if you're working at a company, a lot of organizations have their own company accounts. And all the Udemy courses, Udacity courses, if you log in, they kind of give it you can take it for free also. But for the free courses, those are the more popular website. I personally use a website called Pluralsight. But it is, you need to have a subscription. I think it's like $35 per month or something. But I use this. I love this site. They have a lot of good courses. Again, it's a paid one. So that's the one that I use. And for any courses, for iOS courses or Swift that I was learning, kind of go. This is my to-go site. But this is a paid subscription site. They have a lot of good courses. The good part about this is that the instructor that posts the course, they go through, since it's a paid one, they have to go through some checks, and they make sure that the course content is good and it's more relevant. So that's why you'll find some good instructors and good courses over there. Okay. So that's all I have. The rest of the time we'll take a lunch break at noon to 1, come back, or you guys can work on your projects from here on. And I'll be helping a few groups with their projects also. Again, if there's anything you want me to review, you can tell me right now, or you can sit in the class. I can conduct the whole class with a small group of students if they want something particular. You want me to go over Redux again, I can even do that too. So let me know, we'll be here. All right. I'm going to stop the streaming.